Do you know that your brain can learn to speak English automatically if you train it the right way? Just like a muscle becomes stronger with daily exercise.
And today, we will practice the exact method that helps your brain think in English naturally, calmly, and confidently, without translation or fear.
I have learned that when I expose my brain to English every day, even through slow and simple sentences, it starts recognizing patterns automatically, and this makes speaking easier and more natural for me.
I feel the same way, because when I repeat long but clear sentences slowly, my brain begins to store them as natural speech, and I can use them without thinking too hard.
I try to think in English whenever I am doing simple tasks because describing my actions in English trains my mind to use the language without translating from my native language.
I also describe my surroundings, my plans, or my feelings in English, because this helps my brain stay active and connected to English throughout the day.
I notice that when I speak slowly and clearly, I feel more confident, and my brain has enough time to choose the right words naturally.
Speaking slowly also helps me avoid mistakes, and even if I make one, I correct it kindly, because I know that mistakes are a natural part of training the brain.
I read simple English sentences every day and repeat them aloud because this activates the speaking part of my brain and improves my fluency step by step.
I also listen to English audio at a slow pace, because hearing natural pronunciation makes it easier for my brain to imitate the same style in conversations.
I remind myself that consistency is more important than perfection because the brain learns through daily exposure, not through intense pressure.
When I stay consistent, even for just 10 minutes a day, I feel real progress, and my ability to speak improves without feeling stressed.
I practice thinking in English by forming long, simple sentences about my day because this helps my brain connect ideas smoothly and naturally.
I do the same, and I notice that when my thoughts flow in English, speaking becomes much easier and more confident.
When I learn a new word, I immediately create a simple sentence with it because using words in context helps my brain remember them longer.
I also try to use new vocabulary in short conversations so that my brain gets used to retrieving those words quickly.
I remind myself to stay patient because brain training takes time, and every small step builds stronger communication skills.
And I trust that with daily practice, my brain will adapt, and speaking English will feel more natural, comfortable, and automatic.
At the end of the day, I reflect on what I learned, appreciate my effort, and prepare my mind for another day of improvement.
Every sentence I speak brings me closer to fluency, and I know that with patience and daily practice, my brain will learn to speak English confidently and naturally.
I have noticed that my brain responds better when I create a calm environment for learning because peaceful surroundings help me focus on English without distractions or stress.
I also feel that when I remove noise and stay in a quiet place, my mind absorbs words and sentences more clearly, and I understand every sound with greater attention.
When I practice speaking slowly, I give my brain enough time to connect words smoothly, and this helps me form longer and more natural sentences.
I do the same because slow speaking builds stronger language pathways in the brain, and this reduces hesitation during real conversations.
I repeat certain helpful sentences during my daily routine, like when I wake up, when I cook, or when I walk, because this consistent exposure trains my brain automatically.
I also practice English during simple activities because attaching language to daily life makes the brain learn faster and remember longer.
I avoid worrying too much about grammar while speaking because stressing over correctness slows down my thinking and stops the natural learning flow.
I focus more on communication because expressing ideas clearly is more important than being perfect in every single rule.
When I hear a phrase I like, I repeat it gently and try to use it in different situations, so my brain stores it as a usable pattern for future conversations.
I also take new sentences and practice variations because this flexible practice helps my brain become more creative in English.
I have learned that patience is a key part of training the brain because learning a new language requires time, repetition, and daily practice.
I remind myself that small improvements each day eventually lead to big results, and that keeps me motivated even when progress feels slow.
I listen to myself while speaking and notice how my voice sounds, because awareness helps me improve pronunciation step by step.
I also pay attention to rhythm and tone because sounding natural is not only about words, but also about how I say them.
Sometimes I record my voice to check my improvement, and this gives me confidence when I compare my speaking from previous days.
Listening to my own recordings helps me understand my strengths and areas of improvement, making my brain more prepared for real conversations.
I stay consistent even when I feel tired, because small daily practice trains the brain better than long sessions once in a while.
And I remind myself that progress is not always visible immediately, but my brain is learning quietly in the background with every sentence I speak.
I have learned that when I expose my brain to English sounds regularly, such as through simple audios or slow conversations, my listening ability becomes sharper and I understand sentences with less effort.
I feel the same because daily listening builds strong mental patterns, and over time my brain recognizes familiar words immediately without needing translation.
I try to read simple English paragraphs every day because reading trains my brain to see words in context and understand how sentences are naturally connected.
I also read a little bit each day because even short reading sessions help my mind learn new vocabulary and remember sentence structures more easily.
I notice that when I imagine conversations in my mind, using English thoughts instead of my native language, my speaking becomes faster and more natural.
I practice the same way because mental rehearsals strengthens the brain's ability to speak smoothly during real situations.
I give myself permission to speak with simple vocabulary because using easy words keeps my brain confident and prevents me from feeling overwhelmed.
I prefer speaking simply too, because clarity is more important than using difficult vocabulary that slows communication.
I practice repeating long but gentle sentences so that my brain becomes comfortable producing continuous speech without stopping.
I also practice long sentences because they help me connect ideas naturally, improving my fluency step by step.
When I learn a new phrase, I try to use it immediately in a real or imaginary conversation because doing this helps my brain store it securely.
I also test new phrases in different situations because this flexible usage trains my mind to apply vocabulary creatively.
I avoid comparing my English to others because every brain learns at a different speed, and comparison only creates stress that slows progress.
I focus on my own journey because steady improvement is more important than speed, and patience helps me stay motivated.
I take small breaks during practice to relax my mind because rest allows the brain to absorb information more effectively.
I also pause gently between sessions because giving my brain space helps me return to practice with fresh energy and focus.
Whenever I feel nervous about speaking, I breathe slowly and remind myself that every sentence I say makes me stronger in English.
I calm my thoughts and take my time because staying relaxed gives my brain the freedom to express ideas without fear.
I remind myself that fluency is not a destination, but a daily habit, and every moment spent practicing builds a stronger English-speaking mind.
And I trust that my dedication will transform my thinking, helping my brain speak English naturally and confidently with time.
I have discovered that when I speak English regularly, even with small sentences, my brain becomes more comfortable forming ideas in English, and I don't feel the same hesitation I once had.
I agree completely, because every small speaking attempt strengthens the mental pathways, allowing my thoughts to move smoothly from my mind to my mouth without getting stuck.
I try to describe what I see around me, whether I'm inside my home or outside on the street, because this habit helps my brain practice real-life English situations.
I also describe my surroundings, because turning simple observations into English sentences trains my mind to think automatically in the language.
I like practicing English early in the morning because my mind feels fresh and I can focus more easily on correct pronunciation and clear expression.
I sometimes practice in the evening when my day is calm, because a peaceful environment allows my brain to absorb English naturally without pressure.
I notice that when I listen to English speakers with patience, I start understanding emotional tones, rhythms, and natural pauses that make conversations more meaningful.
I pay attention to those details too, because understanding tone and rhythm helps me sound more natural and confident when I speak.
I practice repeating questions in English because questions help the brain build conversational structures that are useful for real interactions.
I also make different versions of the same question, because flexible practice helps my mind form similar sentences without thinking too much.
I sometimes stand in front of the mirror and practice speaking because seeing my facial expressions and mouth movements helps me improve pronunciation and confidence.
I use the mirror technique as well, because it trains my brain to feel comfortable speaking aloud, almost like having a conversation with another person.
I write short English notes about my day because writing helps my brain organize thoughts clearly and strengthens sentence building skills.
I also write small entries in my notebook, because putting thoughts on paper improves memory and supports better speaking ability.
I try to challenge myself by forming longer sentences slowly because pushing my brain gently helps it grow stronger over time.
I do this too, and even if the sentence takes time to form, I stay patient, because fluency comes from gradual mental training.
Whenever I feel stuck, I remind myself that the goal is progress, not perfection, and every single sentence I speak makes me better than before.
I stay positive, because confidence is a skill, and speaking English daily teaches my brain to stay relaxed, focused, and expressive.
I believe that training the brain is a long journey, and each day brings new improvements that help me communicate more naturally.
And I know that with continuous practice, my brain will become more comfortable thinking in English without fear or hesitation.
I remind myself that the brain learns best through consistency, so even if I practice for just 10 minutes a day, I know that this small effort will build strong speaking habits over time.
I follow the same routine because steady daily exposure helps my brain stay connected to English and prevents me from forgetting what I have learned.
I try to stay curious about new words, not by forcing myself to memorize them, but by hearing them in context so my brain naturally understands how they are used in real situations.
I also learn vocabulary through examples, because when my mind sees a word inside a complete sentence, it becomes easier to remember and easier to use in conversation.
I speak slowly and clearly when I practice, because rushing creates stress, but slow speaking gives my brain the time it needs to think, form ideas, and express them confidently.
I also prefer slow speech during practice, because clear thinking leads to clear speaking, and clear speaking builds confidence that lasts.
I avoid overthinking grammar while speaking because focusing too much on rules stops the natural flow of conversation and makes my brain freeze during communication.
I try to let grammar grow naturally, because the more real English I hear and speak, the more my brain automatically arranges words in the correct order.
I regularly challenge myself to speak for a full minute in English without stopping because continuous speaking builds mental endurance and reduces hesitation.
I use the same technique, and even if I make mistakes, I keep going, because fluency grows when the brain gets comfortable expressing ideas without interruption.
I also practice short conversations with myself because speaking alone removes fear, strengthens mental clarity, and helps me prepare for real conversations with others.
I enjoy speaking with myself too, because it trains my brain to respond quickly and builds the rhythm required for natural communication.
I remind myself that mistakes are not failures. They are signs that my brain is learning, adjusting, and growing stronger with every attempt.
I accept my mistakes and continue speaking, because confidence increases when I stop worrying about being perfect and focus instead on being expressive.
I try to surround myself with English through music, videos, articles, and conversations because an English-rich environment pushes my brain to adapt more quickly.
I create an English environment too, because continuous exposure trains my brain to think directly in English without translating from my native language.
I repeat long sentences slowly because long speech trains my brain to hold ideas, connect thoughts, and speak naturally in real conversations.
I also practice with long sentences because this technique expands my mental capacity and improves fluency step by step.
I end every practice session by appreciating my progress because gratitude keeps me motivated and reminds my brain that learning English is a positive and rewarding journey.
I celebrate my small improvements as well because motivation strengthens consistency and consistency transforms English into a natural part of my daily life.
I believe that with patience, daily practice, and the right mindset, anyone can train their brain to think and speak in English smoothly.
And I know that with continued effort, my brain will become fully comfortable expressing thoughts in English, helping me communicate confidently in every situation.